Um, Kids, if you're watching this podcast, please stay until the very end. I'm going to have some important information around minute 13, 14 for you. Okay, if you want to graduate early.
Ha! Lie, lie. Guido. Ha! Campana ting ting. Campana ting ting. Anda. Camina. Bom, bom, bono.
Hi, welcome to the Ba.Bl podcast. I want to talk a little bit about something that I saw happening in the studios around the time. So we're now starting season 2 of the Ba.Bl, the Reel of Ballroom Blitz. So first of all, let me apologize for my voice and my sniffling. I am really sick right now. I don't feel like editing. I'm probably going to do some of that tonight for season 2, but I wanted to jumpstart season 2 because I think that I have come across a lot of youth in ballroom dancing and really noticed that some of them want to take it more seriously on a professional level at a very young age and realize, they have other dreams. So, I could do this. I could be a ballroom dancer for my professional life as a career, or I could use it as a job through college and go to be a veterinarian, for example, which is one of the girls in the youth category right now, who you'll see a little bit later in this season. But here's the thing. I feel like a lot of kids in any industry get the idea, I should drop out because I could do this right now. I'm gold. I'm getting to the advanced level and I could drop out tomorrow and have a career independently. I see all these independent teachers. I'm really good at websites and online. And it's a thing you feel you can do tomorrow. So obviously my advice is going to be don't drop out. Nobody wants to encourage kids to drop out of school, even if they know there's a better way or an easier way to have success at an early age. If college is not for you, that happens to a lot of people, but you have to absolutely graduate from high school. I myself am a high school dropout, but here are the things that I knew when I was 15 years old, ready to find a new solution to my problems at the time, which I will not go into. When I was 15, I came to a point where I could no longer live at home. It's really sad, I know, but I had to move. My parents just simply were too busy, and it was affecting how, I got to school and different things like that. We tried different options. I was, not getting to school on time, so I actually got kicked out of school. And they sent me to a school that was only in the mornings until noon, which was for the bad kids, which I was not. And I complained every day until they let me out. And I said, I don't belong here. I didn't do anything wrong. I just have a hard time getting to school. And the mornings are the hardest time to get here. So, I was even having issues with attendance in that school. And so they allowed me to test. I took a test, and they said, you probably could do something elsewhere. You'd be better off in maybe independent school, which I didn't know. Independent study, I didn't know it existed. I think a lot of 15-year-olds don't know that it exists. Of course, we know what homeschooling is, but in homeschool, your parents kind of have to take charge of that. In independent study, you just go once a week. You go to school, but you go once a week. You take a test. You are taught for about half an hour, 45 minutes of new subject, and you're given homework on different subjects or whatever. And so it was really easy. It was really, really easy, and I was actually excelling. No pun intended. I was pushing forward really quickly. I figured I would be able to graduate early. No, and it was exciting for me. But then I had attendance problems going once a week. So that's my story about dropping out. It's not like I was a bad kid, smoking in the corner, drinking with all my friends and getting in trouble. I don't have a criminal background. I'm sorry, but I know that's the average story of the dropout, and everybody wants to believe that dropouts are horrible people, but it's not always true. So I ended up having to move away. And in that move, I actually moved to with people that were poor. They were poor and they didn't have money for me to pay for me to live there. So they said, you go to school, you go to work. And my only public school option was the worst school in the area. I knew some people that went there, and they were doing the bad things. So I was like, I'll just get a job. And I got a job, and I ended up having to work minimum wage jobs at a very early age, just to kill time. It wasn't even about having a career, making money. It was just so I didn't have to be involved with the wrong types of people. So that was my early life. I worked 2 jobs sometimes into my 20s, and I took a break. When I got back, so in my 30s, I decided all through my 20s I wanted to graduate high school. I wanted to just finish my diploma. I went to get my GED. So I went to get my diploma. I got my diploma, but it took me like a year. Something that should have taken 6 months took me a year. Whereas when I was 15, I was blowing through it like, could graduate early. Well, at an older age, it was a little bit harder learning algebra. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing with my life? So I graduated, and I have now a high school diploma with some college credits. So in my 20s, I also went to college. But here's the thing about high school versus adult school. Actually, I think it's the same in adult school, but by the time I went to adult school, there was not really any way to get the recorded information that I had gone to college. It's kind of just my word against theirs. And so I had an issue with administration in college. When I went to community college, I had an issue with administration. So I didn't get credit for all of the classes that I took. A good semester or 2 is missing out of my college units. And so that's why I quit college. It was like, this is the stupidest administration I've ever had to deal with in my life. But I will say this, it's just that particular college that had that issue. I had an administration problem in one of the best colleges, community colleges in California. And I only took one class, so I went back years later to figure out if those credits, here's what I'm trying to say, if those credits would count towards my high school diploma. But I took several classes, a couple which I didn't finish, so obviously those didn't count, but I did finish one class. And I wanted to go back and get my credit for that for theater arts and use it towards my high school diploma. And they said that I had never been in school there, that I'm not on record at all. And I go, well, I have the paper that says, that goes into my last class and says that I passed that class. And they said, well, you're not in the records, we can't help you. So because I guess I only took one class, my information went missing or was deleted or something. That's a true story. Okay. So I had some issues with college, which concerned me about young people as I got older, that a lot of people might be going through those kind of issues. But that's the negative thing that can happen. The important message there is that I didn't just continue going. If you continue, you'll stay on the records. You can keep bugging administration if that should happen. That's probably the worst case scenario, right? It doesn't happen to everybody, and I know that. I'm just one of those, one of those random cases. I know that because my parents are both college graduates. My mom went to Occidental College in Los Angeles, and my father went to Sac State. So they both have master's degrees. I understand I am not the usual case, okay? But it's very sad that it happened to me. They were angry, but they weren't angry at the colleges. They were angry at me. So anyway, I want to tell kids all the information I knew at 15, which I could not accomplish personally. I could not do this for myself because of the situations I was in, but I knew this information because my parents told me, which I also knew most other kids at the time, NWA, at the time of the riots in LA, where kids were like in gangs everywhere you look in California, in that time, kids were not given this information. And that is, there are a few different ways to graduate early if you want to pursue your dreams, or if you want to skip college and just go towards your career. You don't have to drop out and just start your company online. You can still get those credits, and it does make your business more reputable, make you somebody that people go, oh, well, they're educated. So you better believe that. It's here are the options for you that I knew about when I was 15 and couldn't accomplish. Maybe you can if you're at this point in your life where you actually want to graduate early and feel like you can work on that hard enough. So if you're in school, first of all, your hobbies like dancing or sports, anything extracurricular, you can use towards those type of credits for PE or other extracurricular credits, like I don't know what kind of credits they're called anymore, but for art, the art and the music, you can use those credits. You can use those hobbies towards those credits if you have a teacher that, if you are going to a school for it. So it has to be a studio, something that's recognized as something that educates in that field. So there's different places for different sports that do that. Gymnastics, baseball, dancing, etc. will count as PE credits. Number one, in art, theater courses, whatever you want to take, music, school, etc. So you get the point. You can go, so with those credits, it counts not only as high school credits, but it also counts as college credits. So you kill two birds with one stone. You can also use, like, you could go to college for American history, you can go to college for math, basic math, and use those credits towards high school and college. This may not be available to you in every college, but you should check your college if they can do that. The colleges here were, I would talk to them on the phone, and they said, yeah, you can they will even count towards your college credits. So you could kill two birds with one stone. And that's just here. So I can't speak for every college, just the ones that I looked into. In California, where I live, there's a few different community colleges. So that's a really good way to graduate early and get through some college credits. Even if you don't want to graduate college, you don't want a BA, or you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life, but you want to try different things. In college is a good way to do that. You can enter recreational classes to see what it is that you are interested in. But in any case, graduating early out of high school is this. So that's two ways. The other way would be the independent study, working at home on your own once a week. And then I think you can even graduate early homeschooling, but I don't have any experience with that, so I can't tell you. You'll have to ask somebody that knows about it. But those are the three ways that I know where you can graduate a little bit early. And then, of course, if you have dropped out, there are schools that allow you, as somebody who's behind, to work harder. You can actually graduate high school faster in certain schools that only accept people who are behind. If you work really hard, you have the ability to graduate faster earlier. But I don't have experience in those schools either. That's just if you're behind, if you have dropped out for a little while and you want to get back in. And then, of course, there's the GED. The GED counts as a diploma, but it's not the same as diploma. As you get older, you always wish, I wish I had that diploma. It counts for the same thing in a lot of different schools. So it's just up to you. I found that the GED was just as much studying as the diploma. And I just wanted to have that paper so that I graduated high school. So it's up to you. But there's plenty of different ways where you can graduate early from high school if you just don't want to be there anymore. And it's not extra or harder work. I think some people drop out of high school because it's not enough. It's not fast enough. They're not learning the things they wish they were learning because they have other interests. But it is important, I think, to finish that lower level of education because, well, first of all, if you want to get any job today, you need that. And college courses or any trade school courses, anything like that is going to help you get into jobs that you want earlier. So go, do your thing, do what you will, ask all your schools about that information and see if you can get any of that stuff done. I don't encourage any of the youth ballroom dancers to drop out and become professional before they're 18. It's a lot of traveling and it's a lot of money. There's no guarantee that you'll have as many students as your independent instructor, because at that level they're probably really well regarded and have had a lot of experience in competition. And then there's some franchises that hire you when you're 18, hire you as soon as you're an adult, and will train you for ballroom, of course. So they like to get in the young people to teach them their way. But I wouldn't depend on those jobs, because there's still an amount of time where in training where they decide whether or not you're cutting it, and if you don't make it in that job, you may not make it in another one. So I don't encourage that really, unless you have a college, unless you're in college, or have, some education in business. Because if you don't make it, and that's still your dream, you won't have anywhere to go with that. That's the worst case scenario. But if you do make it, it's something you'll want to make your career, because you'll get very used to this lifestyle. It can be very addictive, and nothing else is almost anything else is going to give you the same feeling of importance as money, as being surrounded by money. And that's really all it is. I'm being honest, because it's very expensive, it's very extravagant. You have to learn how to be really proper and be a great salesperson as well, to work in franchises. But if you don't think you can make it, I wouldn't suggest starting with a franchise. Especially if you have some competition background, I would say work on your education, work on learning how business works before you get started teaching independently, because there's no guarantee on having students for a following. But I would also encourage you to talk to your independent coach about teaching and have them sort of mentor you. That's probably obviously something you're going to want to do. But never dropping out. If anybody convinces you that that's a good idea, don't listen to it. I don't regret anything in my life, but I will say that if even knowing the information at 15, I could not accomplish those things. Like I said, I am the worst case scenario, but I'm also a really good example of how you can pull up out of the dark hole and be like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do something with myself. I'm not just gonna lay down and accept life in your average run-of-the-mill jobs. But this is, not saying that that's a bad way of living. There's a lot of people who have been working a long time. They have accumulated enough money to buy a house and take care of their kids, and there's no disrespect for all of the people out there that work really hard for a living. I understand that. I just felt like there was something more I wanted to do with my life. And this video is not to say that all dropouts are bad people. Like I said, they're not. That sometimes it just happens to you. So I want to make sure that I get that out. That you know, I mean, no disrespect to you if you have parents that are working, you know, those run-of-the-mill jobs, as I call them. That's what I call them for myself. But I am still working, actually, a job in a cafe. I love that job. But unless I buy it, I don't feel like I wouldn't do it for the rest of my life. In my case, I have been offered to buy the business. I just didn't have the money that they were asking. I also didn't feel it was worth that much, and I didn't want to insult them. So we just said, well, how about I just keep my job? You know, because I like it here. And so it kind of ended that way. But I did have the opportunity to buy it once at one time. So when you get to that point in your life where people are offering you bigger opportunities like that, you kind of have to think to yourself, well, what do I want to, you know, now that I have enough money to think about what I'm, you know, about, you know, something a little bit more. What do I want? And I just happened to be taking classes in ballroom and decided to do more with it. What can I do with this now that, so my thing in life is always trying to get the most out of the things that I'm doing that I love, out of the things that I love to do. And I never see anything that I do as a failure. I see it as something that I can learn from. And so that includes the dropping out of high school. Not only did I learn from it, but I can give you a couple of different ways to accomplish that, to do better than I did if you're in the same situation. And then also make sure that it never happens to me that way again. So I have spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on this hobby of mine, and I am just now starting now in teacher training and able to teach beginner courses. And I haven't started that yet. I kind of just have been giving friends and families, you know, short lessons, not really for money, but for practice. And I have been giving Zumba classes so I don't get nervous in front of a large class of people. I've never been a victim of stage fright. I love it up there. So yeah, that's my story, and that's little pieces of advice that I have for you to graduate early if you feel like you're advancing faster in something else and you want to get started right away. Check out those different options, and hopefully it works out for you. I'm not against the young entrepreneur. I feel like those kids are truly amazing and totally genius. And if you're ever looking if you're the type of kid that's looking for ways to excel, then nobody can be against you, or at least they shouldn't. It would be stupid. So thank you for watching. That is the end of this week's podcast. little bit of advice for the kids. I hope you all stay in school, and I hope you all pursue your dreams at some point in life, and make it to a point where you can look back at your life and have no regrets. Thank you so much.